sequence of events that went down there last night in OKC. Ian Eagle on the call on TNT, and Cappy, we're happy to have him on here. Now, Ian, before we get into those insane sequences that went down there, I actually have something that I want to discuss with you before we get into OKC and Denver. First of all, thank you for joining us, as always.
Hi, Ian. Great to talk to you guys.
Yeah, always. So earlier this season, I'm home, in between games. I'm flipping around on League Pass, right? And I come across young Noah on a Nets game this season, right? And I'm watching Noah. I love him. And I'm watching him, and he is doing an impersonation of you. So for the audience who has not heard this, and I'm sure you've seen this a million times over.
No, this is the first time.
Yeah, sure. So for the audience who has not heard young Noah impersonate his father during a Nets broadcast with Sarah Kustok, here it is.
I would get home, and it would be, clean your room. And I would say, not today. And he would say, breakfast denied. And I'd say, I want some eggs. And then he would say, broken ankles and yolks. And I would say, I'm not hungry. And then I'd get grounded. That's usually how it would go.
I mean, good for you for grounding him. I got to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, 100% accurate. That was so eerie because it was so real. Clean your room. Every day. Clean your room. That same exact intonation. No eggs for you. Denied. I was like Rob Schneider, like the copy guy on SNL.
Right. I got to be honest, though. I mean, I don't really think it's a great impression of you because it kind of sounds like Noah doing Noah to Noah, but Noah just sounds exactly like Ian. You know what I mean?
The sad part is Noah was never grounded. He was such a nice boy. He was a very, very affable child. So I think he conflated, or he might need therapy. We don't know. It's
Perhaps the latter. Yes, I would say. Listen, Mark Daigneault and the Thunder fans may need therapy after last night. Let's start with this, okay? I felt like there were 3 critical errors, Ian, yesterday, late in that game. First, let's start with them playing the foul game. I personally thought they did it way too early. Then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets that dunk with 11 seconds to go. I mean, nobody near him. You probably could have run off some time there.
Agreed.
And then lastly, Jokić is on the sideline. You got to do a different calculus there with the best player on the planet not in the game. I am stunned that they fouled Aaron Gordon so quickly instead of just trying to play defense and not letting Jokić back in the game. How did you guys kind of see all that unfold in real time?
Yeah, I would co-sign all of that. I think, as you guys know, when you're doing a game, it's not only what you say, but it's how you say it. And often it's the tone in which you say it. The first foul that was called on Caruso, I was shocked that they gave it so quickly. Look, we've all watched NBA games. We understand some coaches have a very strict philosophy of, I don't want them to get a clean chance to tie the game. So I'm willing to foul and make it more interesting and more chaotic. But the immediate foul on Jokić was a little shocking. So Jokić goes to the line, hits 2, it's back to a 1-point game. You just mentioned it. Gilgeous-Alexander breaks free, and you're right. There's a chance there to dribble around. There's a chance to use up as much clock as possible. I think it's a dual goal. It's one thing if you want to make that decision with 3.8 on the clock and you're trying to shorten the game and give them as few chances as possible, in my mind. Mark Daigneault is excellent. He is really smart. He has done outstanding work. He was the coach of the year in the NBA last year. I just think he's great at his job. That's a philosophy. I don't know if they're going to look back and say we might need to alter it. He did acknowledge that it was a little too soon, and he said it's on me. It's not on the players. They're carrying out my instructions. And then obviously how it unfolded with the 2 missed free throws by Holmgren, and then Aaron Gordon, even on the call that I just heard, I'm reliving it in my own mind. I had to double check the goal in those moments. You have to be accurate. Time, score, situation, circumstance. And I thought for a moment as they tossed to the three-point line, I reminded myself by saying it, it's a one-point game.
Right.
And I thought, oh, Gordon's going to pump fake and drive to the rim, and he lets it fly from three and hits it. Left time on the clock. So from a play-by-play perspective, you don't want to say that's for the win because it's not. They're still going to have another shot. Williams got a shot off with 2.8, three-quarter court. It was a flail. But you still have to leave room in that moment. And I don't know if it was just Gordon thinking, hey, this is the best available shot, I'm going to take it, or for a moment if they thought they were down by 2 and he had a chance to win it with a 3.
I actually loved the part, though, Ian, of Russell Westbrook, who I was not a fan of when he was with the Lakers, selflessly giving the ball up because I was like, no, Russ, no, please don't. But then he and even when Aaron Gordon shot, I was like, no, what are you doing? But he drained it. Ian, let me ask you this. When you go to these games at this time of the year, are you meeting with both coaches for both teams?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So what is it like to meet with Jokić when he talks about the game plan for the team? Because I'm guessing he's the coach, right? Because you guys kept showing him in the huddle, and he seemed to be doing all the talking. What's going on there?
Yeah, that was a tremendous piece of video. Obviously, when you're still rolling cameras during timeouts, you're looking for something that might be interesting. And the producer shows us during the timeout. And my first reaction is, we got to come back with that. And everybody agreed because he was so animated. He was so demonstrative. There had been stories this year that he had grown in the leadership department. He was more vocal. This is when Michael Malone was still the head coach. But often, and not just fans, but media members as well, we're going to speculate on what we think might be happening, but we don't have intimate knowledge. We're not privy to what's happening behind the scenes. When you see it out in the open like we did, and that, by the way, wasn't the only experience of that. That happened a number of times over the course of the game where during the timeout, Jokić was the main voice, and then eventually David Adelman came in. I do think they respect Adelman a great deal. They like him. He's been a part of this team for 8 years. They know him well. They trust him. It's been a nice symbiotic relationship coming off the shocking firing of the head coach and the GM. But there's no doubt that Nikola Jokic's voice is number one right now for the Nuggets. Not only just the video. We've seen other video of players being animated in a huddle. It's the steel concentration and focus from the other players. They were locked in on him. Everybody was engaged, and I think that passion also shows through. I don't know if you had a chance to watch Court of Gold, the Netflix documentary on the Olympics. It was awesome. It was really well done. But their footage was incredible, and they had a bunch from Serbia and Nikola Jokić, and the love and brotherhood, and then his, I think, growth and maturity into a complete leader, not just a incredible player and an all-time player, but a leader as well.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing it other than to say he is incredible. Like he's one of one in all these nights that I do games, and I'm sure you do too, right? You're putting up these graphics when he has these incredible games. And I was there for one of those 40-20-20 games, the 40-20-20 game he had. And it's just like it's him and Wilt in pretty much every single graphic. And you're like going, how is this guy so good at what he does? But I think to your point, like, this team shouldn't be where they are right now. Like, I didn't think they should have beaten the Clippers, but it just goes to show you how good he is and how good he makes those other guys, even at this stage where they've really only got like 5 or 6 guys that they can play on a regular basis in heavy minutes. They're still getting it done at the highest level. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, agree with everything you say, and I would add this one point. Normally, you get to this stage of the season, there's a reason why interim head coaches aren't usually alive in the second round of the playoffs, because odds are they took over amidst some toxicity or some serious drama behind the scenes that probably couldn't be fixed by pushing a couple of buttons and hoping that it gets better. It shows you that things were in trouble in Denver, and it came to a head, and it was a power struggle, and both the head coach and the GM lost in the power struggle. But to now have David Adelman in there and have this team playing at the level in which we usually associate with championship-level basketball shows you that they still have that pedigree on this team. And, yeah, it's based on Jokić, and it's based on Gordon, and it's based on Murray. It's based on these guys that won a title together and still have chemistry and belief that they can go out and beat anyone. And you're right about the Jokić numbers. Even last night, he was great. And I would tell you, just doing play-by-play of that game, it wasn't like it was vintage Jokić,
right.
But you look up at the end of the game, he had 42 points.
Yeah.
He had 22 rebounds. He had 6 assists. These are historic numbers that we're witnessing, and it almost feels casual because you think to yourself, yeah, that's just Jokić being Jokić. No, it's all-time performances that we're witnessing year after year.
Ian, I'll make this really quick. We're up against the top of the hour, but 11 of 11 ESPN NBA analysts all picked Oklahoma City to win. So I told George yesterday,
I'm one of those 11. Yeah.
I said, you know what that means? And he said, you're going to pick Denver? I said, not only am I going to pick Denver, Denver's going to win.
Well, that's always the way it works. The
right.
graphic on all these shows when everybody picks the same team, it always goes the other way.
So, Ian,
as George knows, they're aware. They're very much aware of it.
Yeah. Well, listen, we saw Anthony Edwards tell everybody on his walk from Crypto.com Arena to the Ritz-Carlton the other night online. So,
100%.
What do you think? You give? So, I mean, look, they won the game. They stole game one on the road, but you giving them a legit shot?
Yeah, I give them a legit shot. I think they've uncorked a few things that they thought. I think the one big key that they believed going into this series, the physical toll that they had to deal with the Clippers' bigs, and with Zubac in particular, was not going to be as big an issue in this series. And the fact that I think they believe Jokić is not going to have to deal with the wear and tear against a Holmgren and a Hartenstein doesn't mean that they can't stop him and they can't make his life difficult. But I do think he got banged around a lot. Zubac was tremendous in that series. So that gave them some good feelings going forward, and the fact that they could maybe expand their rotation and play Watson a bit more, play Strawther a bit more, and maybe ease some of the minutes for the starters.
Ian Eagle, the legendary voice.
The man.
Yeah, joining us here on Sedano and Cap. You have game 2, I presume, as well on Wednesday?
Yep. Yes, yes. I bought a condo in OKC. I'm all
well, I mean, they're pretty cheap compared to the Northeast, so I think you did okay.
Yeah.
Well, Noah called me, and he said, clean your room. I was like, okay, I will.
Buy a condo.
Ian, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it. Have a great broadcast.
Anytime. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Love you, bro. Love you, dude.